Today on this episode of a Fighter Spotlight, we have Britton Hart, professional boxer, newly signed professional athlete with MMA T Company. Britton trains out of Lux Boxing Gym, is coming off of a bare knuckle fighting championships win in her last fight. Britton, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hey, John, I'm doing great. First, I want to say thank you for having me and taking your time out of your day. I know things have been crazy with the holidays, and this is definitely a long time coming. So I'm excited for us to talk face to face now.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for taking the time as well. I know things got a little hectic yesterday, so I'm glad we could get to sit down today, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I wanted to kind of just start with your background and how you got into combat sports, why why you decided to go into boxing, what your family kind of thought when you said, "Hey, I'm going to start fighting." The typical things that happen when you first walk into a boxing gym.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people ask and are surprised by my story. I definitely have a very unique and different story where, your traditional boxers and people in the fight world have started really young. For me, I grew up overseas. So my childhood years were mostly in Germany. So I played soccer. I was really big into soccer. When I moved to the United States, I definitely stuck with the traditional sport, but I had already established like a deep root in sports. I knew that I love sports and that's what I was going to do. In school, it's kind of ironic and pretty cool. Like when I think back on it, I always, when they said, what are you going to be when you grow up? I said, I'm going to work in professional sports. No matter what, it's going to be professional sports, whether it's NFL, NASCAR, and I mean, professional boxing, professional bare knuckle fighting. But I knew that I belonged in professional sports. It was a passion really set early on. I did have, everybody has, trials and tribulations, especially growing up. I had a few specific ones that really put me kind of taking the hard route. I never had the easy route. I never had the easy way. I always got the short end of the stick and would just work myself out of it. So, I had my son really young and knew that I wasn't going to be able to really participate in team sports. So I went to go get my sport management degree. I was married. I had a really abusive husband, which isn't the father of any of my kids, by the way. So I think sometimes, the father of my kids is great and is amazing. He supports me, even though we're not together. But anyways, the person who was abusive relationship, it kind of found me in a bunch of problems and, just being guilty by association and some other, mistakes that I made early on. So I kind of was like thinking that my whole life was over. I did work for the Carolina Panthers and I did actually work for NASCAR for a small time. But when I got into the legal trouble, I kind of thought my life was over. And they were like, well, get your ass into a boxing gym. I had people always pushing for it and I never did because I was so busy all the time with whatever working. And, I had like 4 jobs, going to school. I had 2 kids. So there was just really no time for it. So once that it seems like such a big problem, was a big problem, but it kind of opened a new door. So I went into the boxing gym. I sparred this girl named Moose, which I was like, oh my God, any girl named Moose is just like, I mean, if you can imagine what this girl looked like, that's why I'm not scared of anybody. This girl was chiseled from rock, man. I mean, big muscles, huge legs, like tree trunk legs, solid muscle. When she hit pads and hit the bag, you were like, oh shit. Like she was extremely intimidating. So they're like, you're going to spar Moose. And I'm like, damn it. Like this is going to hurt. Went into the ring and it was super competitive. I mean, super, super duper competitive. Then we sparred a second time. The second time I ended up, knocking her headgear off and dominated. And then I moved on to the other girls and I kind of just like, I started becoming the alpha in the gym and those girls started leaving. And I was like, why are they leaving? And they're like, Britton, sometimes people can't handle not winning all the time. They can't handle, not being the best one in the gym. So it kind of became, like a solution to a problem. They're like, you really need money. You could make this your job. You're really good. You have a secret raw talent. why don't you do it and get paid to fight? And I was like, wow, I kind of already had a sense of that, growing up, like I said, getting, I was in trouble and hang out with the wrong people. So we definitely fought all the time on the streets and, out in just whatever situation that came up. If it was a fight, it was a fight. So I took my first pro boxing fight, and it was like everything. It was like a movie. If I really could like show you what I think of in my head, it was just like, this is who I was meant to be. Everything fit and was right. I felt like I belonged. Everything else in the real world, like it was an escape for me. Like everything that had happened to me in the past, everything that was happening, it disappeared. And I've never had that feeling before, where things just disappeared, and I can only focus on one thing. So that's what fighting did for me. And I decided, that I was going to stick with it no matter what. I had a lot of problems, definitely on the way, with managers, with coaches. Obviously being a female, it's different. Everybody thinks you're sleeping with everybody. That's just what they do to females in the game. So it was obviously problematic that way. So I would kind of just go and, obviously the business of boxing is as political as any other business, and, it can get dirty from time to time. And I just found myself not wanting to be around people that were in it for that reason. I wanted to be in it for the passion and I really saw it as an opening for someone as broken as me to kind of see and be able to identify with other broken people and then grow and heal together. So that's kind of what I used it for. And it was so internally rewarding. It just kind of kept growing and progressing. So now where I'm able to coach and help other people. So that's kind of the long story, still kind of long, but
No, that's a great story. And I think that it's also one that anyone who's listening to this that, might be in the same situation that you were in, could also give them some motivation to, walk into that boxing gym or go do that thing that they've been meaning to do that, they might be nervous to get into or whatever that may be. And you kind of said something along the lines of boxing saved you or something like that. It might not have been those same words. But I get the sense that there's a lot of fighters, right, who may not have the same story as you, but they use that terminology a lot of fighting saved me or boxing saved me. Is that partially the reason why you use the Phoenix and so many of the different things that you do and the different branding and things that we've done with you is because you kind of have had this resurgence in your life where, boxing is now, this new part of you, this new life that you have that is something that you couldn't have imagined before you stepped into that gym?
Absolutely. That's absolutely what that, and I didn't even come up with that, with the Phoenix, somebody else did come up with it for me, and they're like, this is you exactly, because I do have, a history of that, of being down at rock bottom, and kind of, I was a I was a self-destructive person going through, so many different things, whether, just being depressed and being self-destructive. So it was kind of like I had to self-destruct to really realize what is important to me and what's worth fighting for. So the Phoenix kind of came from that, really working out and kind of rebuilding yourself from being born again. So it's absolutely relevant, and something, I look to every day. I have it tattooed on my arm so I see it and remember who I am and that I can kind of overcome anything and to give that motivation to other people as well. But it definitely saved me. And sometimes I think that's a problem too. It's actually, that still is a problem where boxing saves me. People are like, man, Britton, you're so much more than just a fighter or a boxer. Because for me, especially earlier in the year, I had something pretty bad happen to me in January. And it was like, I just had to find a fight. I was like, I'm going to fight. So I fought in February. I had just had stitches in my lip. They're 4 weeks old stitches. Like my lip was like all the way off, hanging off my face, and my nose was broken. And I was like, I have to have a fight, because if I don't have a fight, I know that I'm going to self-destruct. When I have a fight, when I'm training for a fight camp, I'm telling you, I'm like an angel. I wake up, I eat good, I train, I work out, I'm happy. I'm good when I'm working with other people. And like when COVID hit, that was the worst. I was like, man, what do I do now? Like, I feel like empty. Like they're like this hole in my heart, and like more importantly, like my soul is just not set free when I'm not fighting and boxing. I think of all those things that have happened to me in my past, and they kind of flood back, where again, when I'm fighting, I can focus on that. It gives me a really good focus. So, but that's a growing thing too. And now, you know, even when I didn't have some things go my way in July or August, or, you know, even now, I'm able to learn and be like, all right, don't self-destruct, know that there's something bigger out there, and just stick with it no matter what. So it's just something to see that I always grow. And you'll see that in my name too, even though I'm not, you know, Britain the Phoenix or anything like that. You know, you'll see my name change from like Hart 2.0, Hart 3.0, and going in this fight, it's going to be Hart 4.0, because I'm not the same fighter that I was 4 years ago or 3 years ago, or even last month. Like, we're always changing and trying to evolve and be a better person. You know, and that's definitely very relevant to me, and hopefully a lot of people that are listening and watching and see my story, that they can see that. Because I mean, I've been through, you know, I'm not always public about what I've gone through, but I've been through every life situation you can think of. Like, if there's something bad that you can think of, it's happened to me. You just wouldn't know it, because like I said, I keep it hidden. I kind of go into a dark hole, and then I come back out stronger.
And that evolution that you speak of, you know, the evolution of a fighter and the evolution of you as a person kind of go hand in hand, where you're learning things from, you know, the person that you are outside of the gym, and then the person that you are inside of the gym are kind of, you know, going back and forth and evolving together. And I wanted to talk to you about your evolution as a fighter, because like you said, you got into this relatively late in terms of the other women that you're fighting. You know, a lot of them probably started as kids or as teens, where, you know, you didn't start in that sense. So, you know, lately I feel like, you know, you've rattled off a couple wins here. Does it feel like you're coming into your own now more as a fighter, where you're starting to catch up in the experience and then the things that those other women might have learned earlier on that you just, you know, didn't have the time to develop as early as they did?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like when you're, you know, you're trying to have a crash course in like school, and like, you know, most people take like what, 6 classes at a time, and I'm sitting here trying to take 12 classes at a time, just to catch up and to build myself up to the other, you know, females in the sport. In boxing, especially, you know, a lot of those females started when they were young. They have an extensive, amateur background. Their dad is a boxing coach. Their family is boxing families. You know, I didn't have that. You know, when I started, I was 25. So, you know, even though I was very athletic, and I was definitely very, you know, like I said, I brawled on the streets and had plenty of my own, you know, backyard fights. You know, I didn't really have organized training. So if you like look back on my earlier fights, you'll hear people definitely be pretty mean and raw about it, which, you know, I get it. It's the truth. You know, they're like, look, she's learning on the job. But, you know, they took that as a negative thing, like learning on the job. But the thing is I did learn on the job. So that's the key, you know, that I didn't just go in there and not learn anything. I learned, and now that experience kind of caught up. So now, like, when I look at some pro fighters, because I was taking those 12 classes at a time, you know, there's some professional fighters that are really, really good. They're awesome, but they only have like 2 or 3 pro fights a year, because they're picking and choosing exactly who they want. And, oh, this doesn't sound right for us. But I'm over here like, you know, fuck that. I'm like, get this fight. I'm fighting like, you know, like 5, 6 times a year, trying to get as much experience as I can. And now it's finally like, I knew it. And that's why, you know, this fight is so important to me, because a lot of people didn't give me the support. I'm getting amazing support right now. But years ago, people didn't give me that support. They're like, you know, people say all the mean things, you know, under the sun. Like, you're pretty to fight. You're too pretty to fight. Well, you have a master's degree. Like, why you have a master's degree and you're fighting? You know, you have kids. Aren't you worried about like your health and your safety? And you're going to be a punch drunk mom when you get older. You know, all this negative, bad stuff. So to me, I just kind of blocked that out and kept on it no matter what. You know, I've slept out of my car. Like, I have those sad stories. I just don't tell people about them, but I've been there and done that. And the people closest to me, you know, are seeing now, oh, this is why she did it, because I saw the bigger picture that no one else saw. And that's what's coming right now. Like, the bigger picture I saw back then is happening and on its way now. And I think for me, it's part of being like the Phoenix and kind of having that symbol. Like, I wasn't sure who I was as a fighter. I'm like, do I want to sit and bang? Do I want to stick and move? Do I want to be a counter fighter? Do I want to be a puncher? You know, who do I want to be in the ring? I know who I'm outside the ring, but who do I want to be in the ring? And I think that you can see that I'm figuring it out now. And because I figured it out, my confidence with that is making me grow and working for me that way. So, you know, it's a good feeling, and it's a really great feeling. And I'm blessed to sit here and say that because, like I said, the bigger picture was in my mind when no one else could see it. And, you know, I hope people are starting to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's really no substitute for that real life in the ring fight experience, right? You can spar 100 rounds and have 3 fights, and those 3 fights are probably going to teach you more than those 100 rounds of sparring are going to. And that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you touched on, you know, your next fight. After your last bare knuckle win, you made a very interesting call out, and you called out newly signed bare knuckle fighter Paige Van Zandt. And I wanted to talk to you about that call out. You know, was that something you were planning on doing before the fight? Was it something that you had, you know, in this bigger picture vision that you had just recently touched on? You know, where did that partially come from in that call out?
Yeah, I'm one of those people, you know, I don't come from money, and I definitely don't come from, you know, any like positive type of thing, like, you know, a family or a promoter or any person that's going to build me. So for me, I've always fought anybody who's in front of me. Like, as you can see on my box rec and who I've fought, you know, I don't pick and choose my people. If you say, you know, this is the person and she's 7-0, I'm a fighter. If she's 0-3, I'm a fighter. I don't really look at that. I'm just a fighter. I want that experience. So with Paige, I look at her like that. She's another fighter. She's a female coming in. The only saltiness that I come, you know, and I think other people think is that, hey, you know, Paige didn't make it in the UFC. Now she's in BKFC, and now she's a huge star. And it's like, well, you didn't fight anybody yet to be that. Now, if you have your first fight and now you're this huge star, then that's great. Then, you know, whatever, people can hop on the bandwagon. But it's like, hey, you haven't proven yourself. You just showed up, you know. So I did have that in mind. I definitely didn't think that was going to happen. It was completely natural. And I mean, like I said, I just won, you know. That's kind of the thing. Like, I'm a really happy, laid back person until someone crosses that lane, and I do get pissed off. And Paige didn't say nothing to disrespect me or do anything to piss me off, so it wasn't like anything like that. But, you know, I went over there and I definitely was probably antagonizing the situation. And after I won, they're like, you know, the reporter, and that's why I'm pissed off now, which leads into, like, you know, some other things that are happening. But, like, you know, I said something to her. I went over there and I said, you're fucking next. And she chose to come up in the ring, you know, and that kind of came from, like I said, you know, it wasn't like I was just going to get the mic and say, screw everybody else, I'm going to go over to Paige. I mean, the, you know, reporter, announcer was right in front of me, and he said, you know, he brought it to my attention. He's like, you know, Paige is sitting right over there. Do you have anything to say to her? And that's really what I had to say. You know, I kept it sweet and simple and to the point, you know, and I called her out and she came in the ring, and, you know, to me, that was us having a fight. So that kind of like seal the deal that way, because I really didn't get a chance to really do anything else. Cause again, it's kind of frustrating when this new girl comes in and all the focus is on her. So, you know, there's that element to it. So I think, you know, if the focus is going to be on her, she should go through, you know, essentially what I think I am as the gatekeeper right now. I fought all the hardest people in bare knuckle. You know, I have my win in bare knuckle. I haven't turned down a fight. I've been there from the second one till now. And I'm definitely the one, if you want to be in BKFC, I'm definitely the one to beat if you can beat me and be up there. You know, I'm definitely that person. So I think that if she wants to come in and be a big name right off the bat, she can't be a big name right off the bat without beating somebody. And I mean, I'm not going to let that happen either way, but I mean, why bother wasting it with anybody else?
Yeah, exactly. And you are, you know, like you said, the person who's had the experience. You've gotten your win in there, and, you know, somebody that she should be chomping at the bit to fight. But then, you know, you had a couple posts yesterday on social media. There must be some kind of controversy or something going on. Can you elaborate a little bit on just what went down?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think pretty obvious and should be pretty, like I want to be able to tell people like, yeah, the fight's happening. Let's go. I want to be able to train. I do take this serious. I want to be training every day. I want to be studying film. I want to be doing all that stuff. But, you really can't do it. This is a business, and being a professional, you have to have a contract and you have to have an agreement. And a verbal agreement sometimes isn't enough because people change their mind and start running, which I think, goes onto your integrity and as a person, just frustrating for the game, because I am somebody who is different and real, and I try to stick to my word and say what I do and do what I mean. But I want to be telling everybody that, so when people are asking me, my sponsors and my team and everyone who's behind me, I want to be able to say this fight's happening, and it should be. But now she's kind of jerking it back and forth. Well, I don't know. And then there's this other girl that comes in the picture that's just pissing me off because she's running her mouth about stuff that's just so like it's so stupid and irrelevant. Like I just want to ignore it. But the fact is that she's a BKFC fighter too. So it's not, some street bum that I can just knock off and be like, they don't know what they're talking about, because she has been in there and she has had the experience. But the stuff that she's saying is just so left field. It's ridiculous, So, it's pissing me off, because then she's going and she's saying, well, Paige is running and scared of her. And it's like, if anybody, like, let me just clear this up. So Paige doesn't have to be, ditzy or flighty about it. Is if you're running from anybody, it's from me, because I called you out to your face. This other girl didn't. I called you out to your face, and you got in the ring with me. And we looked at each other and agreed and said, hey, when people said, when she stepped out of the ring and said, looks like I got to fight. So don't go back on it now, because this one girl who came up and, got a doctor stoppage against Sheena Starr, and then basically was upset about it and cried. And now she wants to sit there and say, oh, she wants the Paige VanZant fight, which, I get it. Everybody wants to be in that spot. Everybody wants that opportunity. But you have to earn it. You have to earn it. You can't just go in there and get it. And people are like, and I really do want to hear why she earned it. I wasn't trying to throw shots at her or be mean or disrespectful. I'm just saying, why do you think you earned it? Because you fought one time and you won, you're undefeated. I mean, something like that. But she came back and kind of like her style, she said added 5 or 6 things that have nothing to do with the fight February 5th. So, that kind of pisses me off. But then they're like, well, again, I'm just like, hey, I'm not going to fight over this. Like, I'm not. They can have it, if that's what they want to do, go ahead and do it, because I said my piece. I called it out simple enough. But then I was thinking yesterday, I was like, you know what? Fuck that. My fans want this fight. I want this fight. I earned it. And I'm not going to just lay down. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm going to sit here and say exactly what I'm thinking and how I feel about it, because I am pissed off now. And I feel like sometimes maybe, it was the right time for people to see that side that, as happy and, positive as I am, which I am still happy. I'm still positive. I'm still going to stand up for myself, and I'm still going to be pissed off if you want to be disrespectful. And I'm really going to be pissed off if you go back on saying that you're going to do something and then you don't do it. And everyone's thinking that this fight's going to happen. And I have to be like, well, I don't know. Like, people now know I want it. I do know. I 100% know. And now it's on her. Does she know? Because, I mean, I would feel like she does. And she got in the ring with me and, said it was an easy fight. And I heard that she went back to the gym saying, oh, this is going to be an easy win for me. And she's going to be punching bag. It's just a ridiculous thing for her to say. And so she wants to say, whatever, let's go then. There's no excuse.
Yeah, and I mean, that is kind of, you hit the nail on the head. You did say your piece, and not a whole lot of fighting you can do about it other than get in the ring and actually fight it out. So we're looking forward to hopefully you getting that fight. That would be Super Bowl weekend is what I've heard. I don't know if those reports are correct or not.
Yeah, it would be February 5th in Tampa. So I think that is, that is locked in at the time. So that's what we're definitely shooting for.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you, February 5th, regardless of who you fight. Would like to see it be that Paige fight so you two can settle this, what you started when you were in the ring when she got in with you before. But, regardless of who it is, we're looking forward to seeing you, back in the ring again, rattle off some more wins. Before I let you go here, just want to kick it to you to kind of, give any shout outs, any thanks, anything like that for, the people that have been supporting you through this career so far in boxing and bare knuckle fighting.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely want to thank, you, John, and like MMAT company. Like, I'm super happy and excited to start this. And, this is a perfect time to start it. And I love that we have that connection now. Contenders Clothing has been there from my first BKFC fight. So big shout out to them because they have helped me and believed in me on this process the whole entire time. Women of the Carolina Fight Life, they've also been huge. Lux Boxing Gym with Marcus Luck. I have so many people. I mean, Mark Roxy and Dwayne Finn up in PA. They help guide me and give me a lot of guidance too. And I'm working on some other sponsors, some exciting sponsors that I'm super happy to be partnering with moving forward with this fight coming up. So that's going to be announced here pretty soon. So it's just an exciting time. So thank you. Big shout out to everybody for believing in me back then when I was learning on the job. And I'm excited with my progress and me being, born again and being on that, being on that journey and that path with me when no one else can see it. Now that they're seeing it, just big thank you to them. And, to anyone else that believes in anything, go out there and, get out of your comfort zone and you'll be surprised on what you're capable of.
Awesome, Britton. Very well said. We're looking forward to, being part of your journey as well. Thanks for your time today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.